Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is David. I'm with the Participatory Politics Foundation, and we're a small 501c3 nonprofit. I'm from New York today, and we care about civic engagement, and so there's a lot of different definitions of that. What we care about in civic engagement is making user-friendly web tools for people to engage with government and convey their ideas to people in power. Because fundamentally, we think that people's relationship with government currently is bonkers. You've got elections every 2 years, where maybe half the people come out to vote for one of two major parties. And you've got issues that flare up and then aren't heard from again. And you've got elected officials who are speaking to some of their pet issues, but not necessarily addressing things that are coming up from their constituents. So we're looking to create an open, structured dialogue with elected officials at every level of government, using things like open data and open source tools for advocacy and activism. And we come at this from having run a website called opencongress.org for the last 7 years, which tracked bills, money, and votes in the US Congress. And on our bill pages on Open Congress, say on a bill around unemployment extensions, we'd get hundreds of thousands of public comments. People had a fantastic desire to engage with this material and share it with each other. But we had very, very few ways to get those ideas through the congressional firewall and literally into the legislative assistants' offices. It was very, very hard for us to do that. So with our next project, Ask Them, which is what I'll be showing today, we sought to create more buy-in from elected officials to respond to questions in an open public forum. So Ask Them is live at askthem.io. We launched in February. We're a free and open source and nonprofit and non-partisan project. And it's a question and answer platform with public figures. So you can ask a question to anyone who represents you or any verified Twitter account. And the idea there is that with a verified Twitter account that they're a public figure. So the first thing you do on Ask Them is you enter your street address so that we connect you with your elected officials. So this is really important. This differentiates us from a lot of other petition platforms online and existing tools for conveying ideas to people in power, because we're seeking to connect you with your city council members, your mayor, your governor, your state reps, and your federal members of the US Congress. So you can do that by entering your address or searching by name, or you can also see a listing of your elected officials, for example, in Brooklyn. Then you compose your question, and you're able to include media, such as a video or an image. You can include a Twitter hashtag. So on the left, I have a question to my city council member in Williamsburg to say, how can we bring high-speed municipal broadband to North Brooklyn and to New York City generally? And then the questions are published to the elected officials page. So we made a version of the White House's We the People petition platform for every elected official in the US, whether they like it or not. It's live now, and I hope you'll use it to both ask questions, but also not just to go one way. We're looking to close the feedback loop and get public statements of responses from elected officials. So they can respond to a question. This is an actual question from a constituent in Brooklyn who asked about a policy initiative, and the council member responded to say, this is a cool idea. I've started to draft legislation based on this, and I'm borrowing the idea from Seattle. So this, in turn, can help with networked policymaking. So some of there's a lot of ways that I'm interested in collaborating with the folks here for studying research. The first is from a user perspective, right? What types of policy areas do visitors to Ask Them want to ask their elected officials about? We've got 24 issue areas. I can tell you some of what we've observed, but what are some other good candidates for issues that we can raise in a bottom-up way? And then from the elected official side, from the government offices side, what policy questions do they generally want to address? We're trying to create more public, open, structured dialogue, and that's a desirable thing. So we're looking to make sure that elected officials are incentivized to respond to public questions and give substantive answers that tie into the legislative and politics process. When visitors are submitting a question on Ask Them, do they differentiate between their municipal elected officials, their state legislators? Do they know who the heck their state legislators are or what they do? And what kinds of questions do they ask members of the US Congress? Are they relevant to the committees that are so important to the business of federal legislation? There's also, and then how can cities do more to share policy resources, whether it's text of legislations or committees or task forces, just like we saw with that Seattle example. How can we share resources between networks and cities and use Ask Them for more peer-to-peer connecting and network policymaking? And then there's some basic web questions too. Like, what's the lowest threshold at which a city council member in an average US-sized city would like to respond to a public question? I have a feeling it's pretty low. I have a feeling it's 5, But right now we have generally our threshold for delivering a question for a public response at the local level set to 25. We can run experiments, so I'm interested in doing some of that ties into web analytics. And then We're also integrating city council agendas and minutes into our app to make it more tied into the process. What other information do our visitors want to see when they're asking a question to ask a good, contextually informed question? Thanks a lot. I look forward to your feedback.
Do you have an API available yet?
We don't. We'd like to be able to get there. But we work with a lot of open APIs, and I can describe some of our open data sources and what we offer as well. Our code is open source, though it's on GitHub.
Why does it say we're sorry something went wrong?
Yeah.
Really?
Because we all tried to access the site at the same
That's pretty funny. That's pretty amusing. It hasn't happened recently. Great. No, that's great. Yep, I'm surprised by that. We've had great uptime. Please.
How you might take advantage of the offline situation in which people are actually coming.
I can't hear her question.
I'm wondering how you might take advantage of the conversations people are having offline and how you take advantage of those affordances. For example, these are conversations I might have at my dinner table. Right? So I wonder if there's a way that you could take advantage of dinner time conversation as a way of informing and participating in this. In other words, look at what people are doing offline anyway and build on that.
We're hoping that our platform works to filter up those issues in communities. So if you've got a kitchen table concern about bullets, buses, or budgets, right, which are some of the 3 Bs that are often mentioned, if you publish your question to your mayor or council member and share it simply with your network to get more signatures, there's a greater incentive for them to respond to this publicly and then continue the conversation to address this issue. So you could raise an issue of a stoplight, or you could raise the issue of a speed limit or a plastic bag ban in your community.
Even investigate the details. Like, let's say you've had office hours with politicians between 6 and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. What would that mean if you actually put up your idea and then got a response to Paul's earlier comment?
We love that's exactly the kind of two-way communication that we're looking to facilitate. And we already work with close to 80 elected officials nationwide. I forgot to mention we've got the mayor of Austin, mayor of Kansas City, 9 New York City council members, the gubernatorial candidate here in Massachusetts, Don Berwick, and others who are all responding to public questions. And they have the opportunity to sort of to help budge the conversation from their point of view as well. I'll end by saying encourage your local elected officials, wherever they are, to sign up. It's free and nonprofit. Thanks.